Reloading the 7.62 by 39 for the SKS. William Hovey Smith, 2024.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And once again, we are returning to the Norinco SKS here, in particular with its aspects as a hunting gun. Now, in previous videos, we've tried various things, including putting a scope on it. And quite frankly, that did not work well. However, as a 100-yard gun with the existing iron sights, it is very effective for short-range deer hunting in wooded country, such as I have right here in central Georgia. So, we are now considering reloading for it. And the question is why? When this gun was originally imported and I bought it, it cost all of $79 at the day. Wow! Well, right now they're many, many times that amount. $500 or $600 is not unusual. But when this one was bought, the ammunition was equally cheap. Right here, I have a box of finished ammunition. This is 30 rounds, and it was $10 at the time. Norinco, at the time, under China Sports, was also imported ammunition, this time in steel cases, and this was $3 and change a box. Well, the thing about the Norinco ammunition, it's steel cased, non-reloadable. Okay, it was cheap. But it was new and non-corrosive. Great amounts of corrosive ammunition from manufacturers all over the Eastern Bloc flooded into the U.S. And people shot the blazes out of these guns. They were inexpensive. Oftentimes they were not cleaned. The barrels on some of the guns were not all that good to start with, particularly those from the former Soviet bloc countries. And yeah, these things were shot literally to pieces. But the Norincos were newly made, out of excellent materials, good quality steel. If you try to drill a hole in this stuff, you'll know what I'm talking about. And with the non-corrosive ammunition, yeah, these are good, solid, reliable semi-automatic rifles that will kill average-sized deer and hogs every day at close range without much modification. One thing about them is they were short-stocked, at least by modern American standards. So I put a stock extension on it. But otherwise, yeah, the guns work just fine. So now to the question, why reload? The cheap ammunition is now mostly long since shot up. And nowadays, if you buy a box of 20 hunting loads, such as Federal's here, you are whopping up about $50 a box. So, yeah, it then makes sense to invest about $50 now for a set of reloading dies. These happen to be Reddings and bullets of proper size, .310 size to be exact, to reload your own hunting ammunition and get some precision loads. And that's what we're about. Now these blacks are actually loaded by Hornady. they use these bullets. So we are going to try to replicate that load. Since we're going all Hornady all the way, I'm going to use the 123 grain bullets here. And what we're going with is IMR 4198 powder. And I'm not going for a maximum load. I'm going for something like this. So this is 23.7 grains of IMR 4198 with the maximum load being a little bit more. So we'll stay with 2100 feet per second with this load. In sorting through the brass cases, we have the finish rounds here. We have the PMC rounds, which are Korean, here. And we have one of the Hornady rounds here. The problem is that these may have Berdan primers, which I cannot reload, while the US cases have Boxer primers. So I don't know about them. We'll just have to see. Since this is new brass, my first task is going to be to chamber and ream the brass so the cases will fit a little easier. This does two things. It makes it easier to load the bullets, and it also very quickly detects any split cases. It doesn't take much pressure or time to do this. This is something that's done only once, unless you trim the brass.
Support this channel by buying my outdoor books, business books, novels, and recommending them to your local libraries. Although certainly not reloading manuals, I have reloaded both handgun cartridges and a limited number of rifle cartridges for decades. Included among these are the .44 Magnum, .357 Magnum, and so on, and these are mentioned in books like Backyard Deer Hunting and Extreme Muzzleloading. Now, I also work with some obsolete calibers, like the .45-70, which is still readily available in the U.S., but also the British .577 Snyder, and we'll be trying something with the .577 450, which is very difficult because cases are now almost impossible to come by. But look for that in future videos. This is an old single stage press, and it's a Herter's press, and it's marked on the side since 1888. And this is the super model, patent pending in Wausau, Minnesota, I believe. And I bought it from an old GI who was getting out of the business, and he reloaded for everybody, and he fortunately had a very wide variety of case holders like this, which happens to fit our cartridge. Very fortunate. Now we've adjusted the die so that the decapping pin extends below, and this is also a resizing die. Nothing's happened yet. Okay.
It's not moving the primer, so obviously it has to go down a little further. Our reloading of the 7.62 by 39 has run into some problems primarily with the red ink die here. Either due to error on my part or the consequences of the ammo cases I was using, I have problems with cases sticking in the die here. And they stuck so firmly that they actually damaged the shell holder on my reloading machine. Now, I did manage to successfully load a couple of cartridges. And what we found was that all of the brass cartridges, those made in Finland, those made in Korea, and those made in the US, would all take the US style primers. Now, why did the cases stick in the die? Well, several possible reasons. One is the resizing lube may have been inappropriate for this particular die. It's old, 20 years old or so. Right here, and well, it may not work. Secondly, this is after a military pattern gun. Such guns are frequently made with oversized chambers. The reason being the ammunition may be produced in wartime and not really up to strict standards, or it may have been carried in somebody's ammo belt for months before it was fired and be partially corroded, or for any other reasons. Yeah, the chambers are designed to accept almost anything of appropriate caliber and that size bullet that can be stuck in it and function. So the fired brass, may well be somewhat oversized compared to the chambering of civilian guns like the modern Ruger Ranch rifle. So I'm doing a lot of compression on the brass. Okay, that's a possibility. For whatever reasons, so much pressure was put on this die that it actually damaged the threads on the interior of the die of the extraction rod. Consequently, I had to put it in a vise and generally buggered things up. So this die is no longer functional. One other problem was I put so much force on it that I damaged the shell holder die on my press. Now this is a huge old press. There are none made that were larger that I am aware of. And it's a very heavy press. And I managed to damage the die. Whoa. The problem is the shell holder. And when I reprime, the case gets kicked out of the instrument itself and winds up down there on the floor. Although we did successfully put primers in, and they are at the correct depth, and so on and so on and so on. And the two reloaded cases, yes, they do fit into the chambers. So they have every indication of being able to be fired. However, I need a new die. This one, I believe, is damaged beyond any further hope of use. And so I'm going to send it back to Reading and see what they have to say. But now, This is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.